What's going on, team? Welcome to an episode of the Keep Going Podcast, Season 2. This is your co-host, Luke Wheat, coming out of Knoxville, Tennessee. Before the show starts, make sure to follow us on our socials, okay? Twitter, the Keep Going Pod, Insta, the KG Podcast, and YouTube at the KG Pod. Just a reminder that we are not psychiatrists and not psychologists, just a couple ex-athletes trying to make a difference and end the stigma of mental health. Thank you guys for listening, and let's get to the show.
That keep going moment.
My keep going moment.
That's my keep going moment.
Let's keep going.
Welcome, team, to episode 52 of the Keep Going Podcast, Athletes Shining a Light on Mental Health. This is your co-host, Luke Wheat, coming out of Murfreesboro, Tennessee. Pat, where are we coming out of, buddy?
I'm going to go with the O'Hare baggage claim. Here we go, baby. Another day, another dollar.
That's right. Jackie, what about you?
I just got back from Maine last night. I was in Maine this weekend watching the Bridgewater State girls play, and they finally got their first dub.
Okay. Is this preseason? Is this season? What is this?
This is season, but it's non-league games.
Okay.
So It's like out of conference, yeah.
They're D3, right?
Yep.
What conference? Sorry, this is a total divergent from the pod. But
they're in the Bridgewater's in the MASCAC, but this weekend they played a school from the NESCAC.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
We also have Elaine of Total Football Mentality on with us. Elaine, where are you coming out of today?
I'm in LA. It's bright and early.
Absolutely bright and early, and we appreciate you taking the time to hop on us extra early for you this morning. 8 o'clock Central. Yeah, what is it, 5 out there right now?
It's 6, yeah.
Yeah, so awesome that we have you on here early. Excited to have you and have you talk through your story a little bit today. We always do something, so it's episode 52. I'm going to kick it to Jackie. Jackie, do you have any players? I've got a couple in the bag.
I don't. I didn't even look or think about this, and I knew you were going to ask, so you're going to have to hit me with this one.
There's an easy one here for me and Pat because of the Chicago Cub connection. That's PCA, a little Pete Crow Armstrong action. Got to watch him a little bit this year in the double A's in the Smokies. So the Chicago Cubs affiliate, double A affiliate. It was really cool to see him play, and he played in the big leagues in September. So that was fun. And then, of course, the Chicago Bears, Khalil Mack. So we got a couple of Chicago kids on for episode 52. So that's cool. The next thing we usually do, Elaine, is kind of talk about our weekly mental health and what we've done to help our mental health. Jackie, do you want to?
I have a player for you guys. I looked this up.
All right. Here we go. Let's go.
So I had to go back, though, because in football, soccer, there's not very many 52s. We had a player called Alexander Merkel, and he played actually for the last time before this that we won the league. He's from Kazakhstan, and so shout out to Alexander Merkel. Some hardcore Milan fans will remember him. He's actually still playing in the UAE. So there you go.
Look
Number
at that.
52.
I would have never thought we'd have a soccer player that wore 52 of any relevance. And Elaine, I almost feel bad that we almost skipped that. So shout out to the guy Merkel. Let's go.
Players Ola from Chelsea. So he was 25. So he missed it. He was a little reverse, but you know.
Incredible. Go ahead, Luke. Go ahead. Thanks, Elaine. Appreciate you.
I love it. I'm glad you jumped in there. Sorry I skipped you on that one. Sometimes the guests are like they never know, but I should have known. We're talking about mental health, self-help tip. And Jackie, I'd love if you started us off this week. Let us know what you've been doing.
I started doing ice baths this week.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, I transitioned. I upgraded from cold showers. My manager at work had an extra one, so she gave me it. It's one of the smaller and inflatable ones. Yeah. And I was like, this won't be that bad. I've been taking cold showers. So I went out, got some ice, filled it up, and then I lasted 5 minutes in my first one though. So it was good. I like it. So if anybody's been doing cold showers or is looking for a challenge, cold tubs are pretty cool. And I definitely felt good after mentally, and it's a good challenging thing.
Amazing. Is that a morning or afternoon or nighttime thing for you right now?
I did it I was doing it in the afternoon, but I want to start doing it in the morning.
Okay.
Shout out. What'd you say?
Was it Zach Gale that got us fired up on the cold showers, Pat?
Yeah, I was just gonna shout him out because I sent him a picture of my cold plunge, and he's like, "Make sure you don't leave that somewhere where like coyotes can get it," because that was like an issue with him. And I'm like, had he not said that, mine probably would have been ripped in half by now.
Dude, hey, you got to learn from the veterans. You got to learn from the veterans. I gave it a couple run throughs and I couldn't get it. It wasn't for me, but I totally respect it. I feel awful in them, so that's awesome. I'll go real quick. So I'm out here chaperoning for our high school right now. We're at a Model United Nations. And one thing I'm trying to do this week is just kind of keep it in perspective for the high schoolers. They have a lot of great ideas and a lot of awesome, like we call them resolutions in the Model UN. So they propose different things to how to make positive change in their country. And we just kind of help them facilitate that a little bit. We listen to them, give them feedback. So mainly my weekly self-help has been just facilitating that and really just supporting our students in any way they need possible. And that I'm always worn out by the end of chaperone a trip, but I always feel like the cup is full just because of the impact you can make. So it's been a great week so far. Elaine, what have you done this week for your mental health?
For me, gratitude is a huge thing. And so, but I don't have a lot of time, and I love gratitude journaling, but I am not good at journaling. So I found an app called 3 Good Things, and you can actually download it for free or do the paid version, whatever. But you just 3 good things every day. You just type it in. It takes less than 5 minutes. There's like a little inspirational quote there every day, and it's just awesome to like help keep that perspective and help your mental health. Like there's a lot of data behind the fact that keeping that grateful perspective helps your mental health. And also if you're, expressing gratitude, it helps everyone around you. It's like that ripple effect. So that's what I've been doing.
Absolutely. I think I see that with the high schoolers too, is like try to start class off on as positive a note as you can, try and get some positive feedback about somebody doing well in the class, and then that ball kind of starts rolling, right? Pat, you got anything on that?
No, I absolutely do. And Elaine, just for our listeners, can you repeat the name of that app one more time?
It's called 3 Good Things.
Nice.
3 Good Things. It's really easy.
Yep, never heard of it till now. So I definitely want our listeners to dive into it. And kind of in the same realm as Luke and Jackie this week, it's like a lot of the stuff that we're looking to do is filling our cup, right? So myself this week, if you followed any of my socials, I was out at Clemson University with our first ever guest, Rich Jurgen. We do a lot of stuff. You're going to hear an airport announcement. So give me 1 second.
I'm trying to know if my arrival is going to be here.
Oh, it might be, it might not be. All right, here we go. So yeah, Rich Jurgen, we went out with him. He was actually our first guest, episode 1, or episode 2, technically, if you haven't listened to that yet. But I got out here with Rich. We did a bunch of stuff for the business, a bunch of stuff for his speaking, a lot of content creation, and just getting with your people, filling your cup and getting out of your comfort zone. That would definitely be what I did this week for my mental health, for sure.
No, that's amazing. And I love the fact that you got to see Rich. He's been a super big supporter of the pod from day one. Elaine, I know over at Total Football Mentality, she hit the follow button pretty early as well whenever we got launched. This is actually our year anniversary as a podcast. So Elaine's been here for quite a lot of that, and we really appreciate her support over the time. Elaine, kind of talk us through why you're here today. Talk to people through kind of what you do on a daily basis and Total Football Mentality as well.
Yeah, so I'm a huge football/soccer fan, and I have been writing about it and blogging, podcasting for years. And in talking to so many fans, I realized how many of them had mental health issues, but they weren't really talking about it. Some of them would talk to me about it, but I just saw like a big need for that. And mental health for me is a huge issue because I'm like, I think 3rd, 4th generation in my family, and my kids also. So I've had like dealt with mental health like my whole life. And so it's a huge passion of mine. So I kind of got this idea one day, like, well, what can I do to combine them? Because there's a huge need, there's a huge gap, right? Like for talking about mental health. And it kind of hit me one day that the largest population that we have of people who actually die by suicide is the same population that watches football. They're like the same demographic, right? And so that's kind of how Total Football Mentality was born. I wanted a place that people that were football fans could reach out and start connecting and talking to each other, because I mean, we talk about football all the time. Like we talk about it ad nauseum. We have like all these podcasts and we're on social media and we're talking all the time about football, but how much are we talking about mental health? And so I wanted a place where it was like kind of natural to like slide on over and talk about mental health and let them know like it's okay to talk about this stuff too. And it's just like kind of a natural conversation that if you're talking about your favorite team and if you're talking about, especially if we're having a bad time or whatever, with our team, it's okay to talk about like what's going on in your life and how it's affecting you and all of those things. So that's kind of how Total Football Mentality was born. And it's kind of a side project of mine. So it's kind of not been as big as I'd want. Like I haven't got it launched the way I'd like it to be, but it is there and I am here because I want people to know that like there's a space for you to talk to people. And I also have friends that I can connect you to and things like that, because I just think it's so important that we talk to each other.
Yeah. I think I absolutely love that. And I love football/soccer side of it. When you kind of look at soccer, right, and you have Europe, you take Europe into account because that's kind of where it was first played. All these towns have all these different teams, right? We don't really kind of associate that with the U.S. The U.S., we have like the MLS now, which is so brand new in comparison to all other soccer leagues. You look at England, like you've got teams that have been playing since the 1800s. And it was a big deal to play for your hometown's team. And you had rivalries with towns that were 15 minutes away. And, London's got how many professional teams, and you can't even count them. So I love the fact that, you kind of brought this mental health side to soccer because it affects people in their daily lives so much. That's kind of where I'm getting with that. And then
Luke, yeah, I love that too. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Pat. You're good.
Oh, I was just saying, I love that, bro. I love that. Go ahead.
No, absolutely. I just think it kind of hits at the heart of a lot of people because the soccer team in Europe was a pride of the community, right? And that's, that affects your mental health. So it's bare bones stuff for soccer for sure. And then two, whether it's a side hustle or not, Elaine, I think you're making a huge impact. And for us, we kind of looked at this clip the other day. I sent Jackie and Pat this. We've had pretty good success the first year, but if you wanted to, you could be negative about it. And if you wanted to, you could be positive about it. And it was this clip of a girl working out, and she was saying, I only have 148 followers. And then she kind of reversed it with, if 148 people came up and told me that they loved my fitness journey in person, how would that make me feel? So, it's all about that perspective piece, right? You're making an impact for sure. And that's one of the reasons we wanted to have you on today.
Thanks. Yeah, I mean, in my other project is called Milan Obsession. So I'm a huge AC Milan fan, and there are fans all over the world. I can't even remember. It's like 500 million fans, something. I don't remember. It's tons. And so I've literally had people from all over the world on my other podcast and talk to people every day from all over the world. And so it's not just a problem that we have here in the United States. It's a problem that everyone has, and we have like different services and different access to services and different cultural beliefs about mental health. And so it's important to have that message spread everywhere. And so that's one of the things that I also do, is that I approach it from a global perspective, that like people all over the world need this conversation, and that providing them access to services and pointing in the right direction for their country, for their wherever they're at. I think it's really important that we understand that, this is something that everyone is impacted by, whether your team is like a little team in your hometown, or you follow a big club in another country, or whatever, whatever football you follow. Or even if you don't follow football, because I have followers that aren't even football fans, it's really, really important that we have this conversation. And I've been able to talk to some great people so far on this podcast, on my Total Football Mentality podcast, that have very different experiences as well with football. But the conversation about mental health is always the same. And, we share a lot of common things as football fans, a passion for the game and certain things that we can connect to. And that's something that I've tapped into, is that, we all have this common bond, just like you guys all always talk about athletes and things, we have that commonality that we can reach out, and that's how we connect. But then when we get into the mental health area, it's surprising to some people how much we have in common and how much we're not alone. People suffer on their own, and they think I'm the only one that's doing this, I'm the only one that's feeling this, or I'm the only one that's going through this. But when you start talking to people, you're not alone. You find out everyone has gone through something, everyone knows somebody who's gone through something, and it's really, really impressive and really validating, I think, for people when they start talking about it and figuring out yeah, this is actually, I'm not alone. This has happened to a lot of people.
Yeah. And I think I love the fact you're using football and soccer to bridge that gap, right? It opens up the conversation because it's something that people are comfortable with. And it really hits at that identity piece just straight off the bat. And I think that's kind of the part where I struggle with sports a little bit, is that sports are amazing and they can teach you a lot of great things, but you can get your identity wrapped up in them really quickly, right? And then it can take a turn for the worse. So, Pat, go ahead. Got something?
Elaine, I'm going to tell you this. I'm going to actually kick it to Jackie because she came off of mute, but this is the first time in the history of the Keep Going podcast where all three of us together came off of mute to respond back to what you're saying. And I know it's hitting home. And I have to respect Jackie and give her the floor first, and then I'll go. But Elaine, you are fantastic. I'm loving this. Go ahead.
Thanks, brother. I just think it's interesting because I'm thinking about the sports teams I follow, and I have the Boston Bruins and the Boston Celtics, and the community. It's like Boston teams have very big followings, but obviously not to the capacity of your team. And I'm even just thinking about the pages I follow in the sports communities I'm a part of within our fans. And I just wanted to give kudos to you for the fact that you have this large following and you're using it the right way. Some people get a large following and they have a community of people and they don't lead with the right purpose sometimes. So the fact that you took that and saw something that you could saw something with greater purpose beyond the fact that you're all sports fans is amazing. And I just think that this leads back to the point of why community is so important, because sometimes people don't have a family to turn to, or they don't have coworkers to turn to, or friends, and they join a gym, or they join, for instance, a sports fan page, and then they finally have somewhere to turn to. There might be people that you've talked to about mental health, and they never got to have these conversations before. And I just think that that's absolutely amazing.
Jackie, I agree. That's exactly where I was going with this. And this is not a surprise, but people in my circle find the right people to add value. I remember when you got started with Total Football Mentality and you started doing all this, how many years ago? We got into the space a year ago, and I remember Luke messaging me and being like, there's this, and this is not to sound bad, but there's this soccer page that I don't know a lot about, but whoever this is making so much impact. So think about that. A dude in Knoxville, Tennessee, right, is seeing your information. How crazy is that? That's the first thing. Elaine, thank you for taking those steps and making those posts, because the way I look at it is, think about how many people have been like Luke across the country that go, man, I was having a really bad day until I saw Elaine's post. So I just commend you for that. And you're standing up for the person that can't stand up for themselves at that point in time. And I think that's so strong. And I'm already getting emotional. We're like 10 minutes in. I can't even, this is incredible. Elaine, go ahead and speak on that, because we just gave you 3 things of feedback there.
Well, thank you guys. It's humbling, but that's exactly why. I mean, I know I literally get so choked up when I hear people that say I don't have anyone to talk to. And I think a lot of people that are football fans are in that area. They feel, there's a lot of, toxic beliefs in this area, a lot of just a lack of emotional bonding and things, and a lot of fans feel like they don't have anyone to talk to about these things. And I've seen so many like video clips and heard people talk about like, I don't have anyone to talk to. And I always just tell them, like, my DMs are always open, my messages are always open, reach out to me. And I've had people reach out, and it makes me feel so good, because I don't mind. I have time to talk to people, and I'm more than happy to listen to people, and if they need help, I know exactly where to point them to, and I'm more than happy to listen to them, to check in with them, because I've been able to find people to talk to in my life, and it was hard. I didn't have people growing up. I didn't have a support system, and I know what that feels like to be alone. And so I want to, help people be like not in that place. I want people to be able to have somebody that they can count on. And if that's me, if that's someone else, if they don't feel comfortable talking to me, I can point them to somebody that maybe they are, comfortable talking to. But to me, I think that the biggest tragedy in this world is that people feel alone, because there are so many of us on this planet, and there are so many amazing connections that you can make once you start talking to people. And even if it's just online, making those connections is so important. And that is, to me, the biggest factor in preventing suicide, is making those connections and talking to people. And I feel like we can save so many lives just from opening our mouths, even online, just, typing a few words. And so that is why I do what I do. And I think it's just really important, as many people that can do that. I have that ability, and I'm taking advantage of it.
Oh my goodness. Like the platform usage. I know Jackie and Luke both touched on it. Incredible. And I can't help but stay on this. I have to stay here. We have listeners throughout the country and internationally that are student athletes that have never experienced any of this ever. And like one day it just hits them. Speak to them real quick. The guys and girls, a little bit already, but like, if you had to start from square one right now, what advice would you give to student athletes across the country? Because they're going to trust you. So you go ahead and speak on that.
Well, I can tell you from my own experience that I was there. I did that one time. I've had depression my whole life, and it is brutal. It's a awful place to be, and it's really hard when you do feel alone and you don't feel like there's anyone that you can trust, that you can talk to. But I can also tell you that all it takes is reaching out to one person. There are so many more people that you don't realize that would much rather talk to you than attend your funeral, honestly. And they're people that you may not even know. Like, I really genuinely care about people, and even if I don't know who you are, I literally would rather talk to you than hear about another person that took their lives. And I'm not just saying that. I literally do care about people in that way. It really hurts me every single time, every single number that I see, that I know that's a human being that took their lives, and that hurts me. And so to me, like, I really, like, this is a huge passion of mine, and I think it's really important that when you're in that dark place, you need to understand, like, it can get better, and it does get better, and all it takes is reaching out. And and letting somebody know what you're going through. There are so many situations. We have so many stressors now that I didn't have growing up. There's a lot of stuff going on in this world, and it is dark, it is hard, and you're not wrong for feeling those feelings. Those things happen to people. There are a lot of things that can happen to you. The stresses that people have, like college now, I mean, just like paying for college. I mean, it's incredible the stresses that we have now, but that's why we need each other more than ever. And we need to reach out to each other. And I think, especially in athletics, there's so much more pressure than even the general population. And so just that's my message, is just to reach out, just like send a text, send a message to me. I know you can send a message to these guys as well if you feel more comfortable. To send a message to just say, I need help, and we'll be there. Like, there, if there's other people that you feel more comfortable, just send a message and people will be there. People will step up for you, and I don't judge people. I understand. I've been there, and you know, it's not, you're not a bad person for feeling those feelings. You're not wrong. It is so normal. It is so common. It's ridiculous how many people go through this, and so you're not alone. And you need to know that there are plenty of people out there that genuinely care about you.
Yeah,
that's
there's
it.
We had a UT sports psych, the head of the athletic department, sports psychology, athletic department at UT came and spoke to our students last week. And one statistic like really stuck out to me, and this is why I love how you bring football and soccer into your mental health conversations. So 35 to 45 or 35 to 40% of athletes experience moderate to severe feelings of anxiety, blah, blah, all the different mental health issues. And it said in a group of their peers that weren't athletes, 40% were likely to reach out to somebody for help. And then in a group of peers that were athletes, if you kind of dissect those two groups, only 11% were likely to reach out as an athlete. And this call to action is absolutely necessary. And there's something that I ask most guests that I'm really excited to ask you, because I want to know about this passion that you've got. What's inspired you to take this on? Like, tell me where this passion comes from, because I hear the passion in your voice and I hear the inspiration. Where does that come from? Does it come from a person, or is it an external factor? Is it internal?
All of the above. So I have lost people in my family to suicide, and I had a point in my life when I was 18 that I was severely depressed, and I did try to take my life, and I came out of that, and I decided, you know, like I didn't want to do that ever again. And so I've done everything since then to make sure that that never happened again. But I also decided that I wanted to help other people so that they didn't get to that place either. And it's been a huge passion of mine to like try to help people that, you know, like understand that this is normal. It happens to everybody. It's okay. Like, it's a medical condition, first of all. Like, we need to normalize that mental health is health, and it's just something that it happens to people. People are predisposed genetically, it's environmental, there's a lot of different factors that go into it, and it can happen. And when it does, you know, you just need to do the right things to take care of it, just like you would, you know, if you had diabetes or anything else. Like, it's just the same thing. We just need to take care of it. And the nice thing is that with mental health, you get to make all these amazing connections, and you get to like find these therapists that are amazing people. You get to talk to new friends and meet new people that change your life, and you get to become a better person. And to me, that's like what I feel like happened for me, is that it transformed me and helped me to be a better person. And so I want to give that gift back to other people.
Wow. You know, I mean, that's what it's about. That's absolutely what it's about. Pat, go ahead, man.
Yeah, I think the big thing is that I'm hearing from Elaine and a lot of our guests is getting ahead of it before it hits you. Right. Because, like, in this life, you can't really get put into a bubble. You can't really protect yourself for the longevity of your life. You're going to run into setbacks, failures, some trouble. There's ups and downs as we go on. And with Elaine, I think it's a lot of this came on all at once, and you had to have the coping skills to deal with it. If we can get ahead of those skills and routines and relationships now, I'm not saying it's going to make it easier, but it's going to make it easier to bounce back and be the better version of yourself. It's still going to be tough, but establishing some of these habits and routines, I think, goes a long way. And I think that recovery time for your mental health, I think, goes a long way. It's part of the reason why we do what we do. You know, that's all I wanted to touch on.
Jackie, what do you got? I always got calling Jackie because I know she's always got something cooking, but I just
no. But I like when you guys usually when you go first, you usually say what I'm thinking. Pat touched on it a bit too, but Elaine, I just want to thank you for being vulnerable and coming on here and sharing all of that with us. And you've just been so open and honest and like articulate with your story. And I'm glad you're still here today to share your story with us because I know our listeners are going to be impacted. We have a lot of obviously athletes that listen, and I think that they needed to hear everything you had to say today. So thank you for being vulnerable with us.
Thank you.
I agree. And Elaine, you might have already touched on it, and excuse me if you have, but every week we ask the same question to all of our guests, and it's, what's your keep going moment? And not only did we make history earlier with the mute thing, like I mentioned, but this is the first time I've ever asked this question from a back of an Uber. So Elaine, what is your keep going moment?
Well, that is my keep going moment, is when I regained consciousness after trying to take my life. I decided that, you know, I've always been a fighter, and I wouldn't let anyone else take my life, and so why would I do that? And that was my keep going moment. I just realized, like, hey, you know, I wouldn't let anyone else do this to me. Why would I do this? And I made that choice then, and I've just stuck with it. And it's not that I was never that depressed again, because I was. Geez, postpartum depression, I will just say that for the ladies out there that are planning on having kids, postpartum is a bitch, and it's hard, and you got to take care of yourself and have people around you. Depression in general is always hard. It's not like I didn't have those moments again, that I didn't have those thoughts, but that moment for me changed it, and I always held on to that little light that made me decide, like, right in that moment, this will never happen again. I will never do this again. And I've kept that promise to myself, and I have never done that again. And so that was my keep going moment, and I've used that to build the rest of my life on, and to be an advocate for mental health for myself, for my family, for my kids, for everyone around me. And so it was a tragedy that it ever happened, but it also was a building point for my life to move forward.
Yeah, Elaine, I think I'm speaking for the whole group, and I'll let Luke kind of cap us up. But not only are you a gem, like, and how refreshing this has been for us as a group, but you're a bad mofo. Like, you are I love, like, that you just come on here and, like, this is so real, and this is what we don't tell our guests to do. You obviously were with us in the prelude, but, like, this is a conversation that I look back and go, Elaine is making an impact. And I also wish she was kind of my aunt, right? Like, you seem like I want you to be like my family. Like, I love you, Elaine. Thank you for being you.
Thanks.
Absolutely. And I mean, you've already come on and you've touched on one, like a daily thing that people can do with the 3 good things that you gave them an actionable step to make a better positive change in their life right away. And then you hit them with the heavy stuff and you talk them through what real feelings feel like, right? And that they don't have to be ashamed about that. So you're hitting on all the fronts today, Elaine. And one thing we kind of do after the Keep Going podcast, and you've listened to some episodes before, if there was one thing you wanted to touch on today that you didn't get to touch on, Talk to the people a little bit.
I think it's just, doing things like Pat was saying, like to stay ahead of the curve. Everything that you can do every single day to be preventative. I am a huge advocate of preventative mental health care. And so every single thing that you do, every choice that you make every single day impacts your mental health. Everything, the food that you eat, the exercise you do or don't do, what you watch on TV, everything that you do, like if we talk about our physical health so much, and athletes know this, that you guard your physical health so much, but you really need to also realize that even more so, your mental health is impacted by every choice that you make. And so make those choices carefully. I mean, sometimes you need downtime for sure. And so you need to make sure that you're doing that as well. But make those choices carefully, because that can help so much to prevent a lot of those harder times. And by checking in every day, that's a huge thing for me. Is I check in with my mental health every single day, and like, how am I feeling? Did I sleep last night? Did I get enough to eat? All of those things, because that will help me stay ahead of the curve and realize if I'm getting depressed again or whatever, and I need to like maybe go to the doctor or check in. So those are the kinds of things that I like to do on a daily basis.
Amazing, absolutely amazing. You've made, in the last 42 minutes, you made an unbelievable impact, and you're going to change somebody's life with the episode today. I mean, I can't thank you enough for coming on today.
Thank you guys. You guys do an awesome job.
Elaine, I want to thank you very much for the kind words there, and so do you. I want to make this very clear. If you haven't noticed, we've kind of started collabing our brands. Like we do a lot with your post the same way you do for us. Let's keep that. If we can ever expand on that and be anything else for you, say the word, because in this community that we're building, you are a village person that we want to keep very involved. So I just want to tell you, thank you for all you've done. And if we can ever help with anything, just let us know.
Thank you guys. You guys are so kind.
Jackie, what do you got?
Hey, it's easy to see what you're doing. It's so easy, to support somebody like yourself, for sure. Jackie, what do you got?
No, I think I know what soccer team I'm following now. I don't really have an international team I follow. I guess I do now. I always follow the women's USA team, obviously, but I've never gotten big into like soccer in general because I always watch basketball. But now I got a team to cheer for, so I'm pretty amped up about that. And
I agree.
on a more serious note, you already impacted the 3 co-hosts today, so I know when this hits all of our platforms, it's going to impact more people as well.
Yep. Nope. I agree. Well, I obviously love you guys. Elaine, I appreciate you coming on today. And how can we not go dominate the rest of the Sunday after that? So above all else, guys, have a great rest of your Sunday and always keep going.
Keep going, guys.
Keep going, guys. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.